and CEO of a local social enterprise called PIE, Student Individual Excellence. We are predominantly an educational social enterprise. We work predominantly with young people, but we are now just about to launch our 7th Wave of Change programme with Simone and the Goodness Collective as well, which is to support women, women who are out of work in Stockport. Our sort of tagline for PIE is that we help get people future ready. Be that we are working with young people within the classroom, developing life skills, or working with Women on the Wave of Change programme, or working within community settings. And through our different programmes, workshops, sessions that we deliver, there's very often an element of social action, which is where sort of I come into social action here. So at PIE, just give a little bit of context about sort of what we do. We talk about PIE, we talk about the 5 PIE slices. So everything that we do links in with one of those. So our 5 PIE slices of communication skills, project management, community links, cultural capital, so new and different experiences, and then digital as well. And all of those lend themselves really nicely to social action. With regards to social action, we deliver, I guess a lot of the programmes that we deliver ourselves are social action, in terms of we're sort of tackling a societal need for ensuring that young people have got skills outside of the classroom. So skills like, oh hi Pam, sorry, I've just seen Pam's face pop up and that's made me really happy. Sorry everyone else, then I've not seen Pam for ages. You get that warm welcome everywhere, don't you, Pam? But yeah, so we've got we sort of look at delivering programs where they're needed, supporting young people with specific skills. So we have got quite a number of sort of standard programs we deliver, but we also work really closely with our partners, be that school partners or be that organisational or group partners, who essentially, if there's something that people need we're working with, we try and offer something to address that, but obviously within an educational setting. Social action as well also plays a really important part in a lot of our programs. So in terms of what social action is, we'll sort of talk about that a little bit as a group in a second and sort of come up with a bit more of a definition. We encourage all young people, pretty much every one of our programmes now, which is within school, incorporates an element of social action project. So asking young people to identify an issue, a problem, a cause within their community, be that within their school community, be it within the wider community, that they would like to tackle and make a difference on. And then and they deliver a project, and it's absolutely fantastic, and it really gives the opportunity for young people to delve into all 5 of those PIE slices that we just talked about before, but in particular the project management and the community links. We're also ensuring that young people develop those wider links within their community, that understanding of what's going on, but also as well giving the chance to find their voice, make their voice heard, and do something that makes a difference. And we think that that's a massive thing with a lot of young people. I've worked for more years than I care to think about now, actually. Well, I'm coming up to over 15 years working with young people within educational settings, and most young people have got a really good heart and they really want to make a difference, but they don't have the skills, they don't have the opportunities, and they don't have the facilitation for where they can actually run social action projects. It's absolutely amazing. Some of the stuff they've done, which I'll share with you a little bit afterwards as well. So I've gone on for longer than what I'd actually intended to. So I was just going to say, if people wouldn't mind sort of unmuting themselves one at a time and just sort of introducing themselves and just explaining really why they're on the call today. So why you've chosen to come onto this session today. And I'm going to apologise if I say people's names wrong. So people, do you mind going first?
Who did you say, Beth?
Did I say Phoebe? Yeah, sorry. Were you on mute?
Hello. Yes,
sorry, Phoebe.
I'm Phoebe from Stockport, and just to connect with what Beth has said, I used to work for the youth service when it was run by the council. So now there's a lot of different providers are there offering youth services. It feels like there's been such a change since I worked, and also like connecting a bit with what I think I've heard you say. Yeah, I'm part of a peace education project called Peace Pathways, and together with Stockport for Peace, which is another group I'm part of, we did some workshops in Poynton High School on social justice. So that sounds like it connects a bit with what you were doing.
Definitely. Sounds really interesting, VB.
Yeah, so I do a few different voluntary with the Friends of Marlow Meadow. Yeah, I'm in quite a few different voluntary groups, and it, you know, how to term a lot
Wear
of it.
many hats for many causes.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
social action and community involvement is important.
Yeah, fantastic. Thanks, Phoebe. And I think that's one thing that certainly, from my perspective, social action to me is just a label. And I know there are formal ways of sort of describing it and things like that, but and it does mean certain things to certain people. But to me, social action is just about tackling something that matters to you, be that a small thing within your local, your school community, within your local community, or what little things you can do for a bigger picture, be it climate change or be that. But it's all of us tackling something that means something to us and actually means something to society as well. But that's great. Thanks, Phoebe. I'd definitely be interested. Hopefully, we'll hear a little bit more about your work today. But it definitely sounds like we could potentially be worth us having a chat at some point as well about the different stuff you're doing. Because I think there's quite some potential crossover and collaboration there. So thank you. Pam, lovely Pam. Hi, Pam. Are you all right? Just introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Pam Fallon, and I have been on a course run by Simone Gallagher and Beth, Wave of Change, and they've given me a lot of support during lockdown, and I have improved on my digital skills, but also I'm a very positive person to work in social action with voluntary in different groups, and I'm just come on to hear if I can be any service at all.
Great. Thanks, Pam. It's lovely to see you. Thanks for joining us. I'm literally going around my screen, so there's no favouritism around us. So I'm going. Louise, hi, Louise.
Hi, sorry, I was a bit late joining in, but I assume you just want a quick introduction.
Yeah.
So I'm Louise. I'm a local business owner in Stockport, but I am also very interested in the community. I've been involved in some community projects over the last couple of years. The Heaton's Mutual Aid Group. We did food bank collections, Christmas gift collections. I helped Simone with collection for the Afghan refugees recently, but I'm very aware of I don't want to get involved in something or do something just for the sake of doing it. It's got to be done for the right time, the right people. So I'm just really interested to learn from everybody that's in this group about how I can do things better.
That's great. Thanks, Louise. Hi, Nadia. Are you all right? Just to give us a quick overview of who you are, Nadia, and just sort of why you've sort of joined this session today, what you're hoping to get from it. You're on mute at the moment, love.
Thank you for that.
Hi,
my name's Nadia Ali. I work as a freelance community and youth worker for Peter Norris Community Centre, and I also run my own organisation called Make a Difference. And I've come on here today because I'm looking for some support around. I think it was Phoebe that was on call before. Was it Phoebe? I'm not sure if that was her name, but I'm looking for support around environmental projects to strengthen the work that we do. So basically we do a lot of youth and community work across Stockport, but one of our biggest gaps is around tackling, environmental issues and how can we incorporate that into some of our community sessions so that it's very much more community orientated, what people can do every day to make those little changes.
Thanks, Nadia. Hopefully that'll be some help today as well. Claire, hi Claire.
Hi, I'm Claire. So I am a business manager for Manchester Occupational Therapy Services is one hat, and we work across Greater Manchester, but we've got a clinic area in Stockport. Another hat is I'm heavily involved in lots of things that go on in the community. I've just done 6 years in a role where I was very community focused, and indeed I did support the wave of change. By talking to people about employment opportunities and giving them hints and tips on recruitment and interviews and things like that. So I've come on really to find a little bit more about what the whole session was around, if I'm honest. And indeed how I can sort of still be connected with different things, even in my different role. And I think thinking about all my transferable skills in my life and what I can still be doing to support other people, I think sometimes we sort of we shelf things and we think we've moved on from that, and I'm a firm believer that we haven't. And I've got to 47 with 47 years of experiences, and good and bad, and I think sometimes it's good to be open and share that. So really I've come on just to see if I can be of any use or just make some more connections and put more faces to names and see the lovely Simone that I've not seen for ages.
Brilliant, thanks, Claire. I think that's really important as well, what you've just said. So there's no about shelving things, and that's something which when we run social action projects in schools, I always try to make sure there's some kind of legacy from it and try and make sure there's some kind of continuity. Now, some groups of young people are fantastic and they want to continue it with, if we're running a 12-week program and then I'm physically not even in the school after that, it's great to have started something, but then how do we make sure it doesn't get shelved? And that's something I can't answer that, but that's something we're trying to work on. But also a really big thing that I'm certainly really passionate about within Stockport is, what, and Simone will be Simone knows it's like I sort of got involved in the Wave of Change programme in 2019 now, which is scary, Simone, that it's that long ago now. Simone was like, "Do you want to sort of help out with this?" I'm like, "Yeah, why not? That sounds all right." But actually, what that's done is it's really helped to bring everything together for us, and it's helped to make sure that we've got that longitudinal. That's not the word I'm trying to say. I'm not talking about graphs. Sort of that long-standing. You can tell I've had a long day. My brain isn't working. I can't find the words. And it's only 3:30. Not even 3:30 yet. That sort of long-standing impacts, and actually, what we're able to do now is it's working really nicely where we're running projects in schools, and then we can refer students to some of our community projects, and we've got women on our Wave of Change programme who we can then refer their young people onto our HAF programme, and we can engage with the parents who are involved in our community project for the children onto the Wave of Change programme. It's that kind of thing and I think in Stockport it works really well, where we can refer into different services and different provisions. And I think for social action, that's my next level of social action, is actually, well, what am I doing for around climate action? How can we link in with Nadia around that if she's doing, and it's that kind of thing as well. And I think that might be something quite interesting to look at, because I completely agree with you, Claire. It's that idea of, and I think all of us in our different roles, and everyone on here already seems to wear so many different hats and have so many different things going on. We can I can't, long words are not working today coming out of my mouth, I apologize. Like, it's really easy to decompartmentalize. I'm really pleased that you're filming this, Simone, and it's going to be helpful. And I used to be an English teacher, which makes it even worse when I can't speak. It's 3:00. 3:00's my cut-off for long words. Sorry. And I think it's really easy for us to do that, decompartmentalize, but especially when we're wearing different hats and doing different roles. But actually, I think for social action to have that wider impact, it's sometimes we need to not shelve things and not put things in certain boxes and actually allow it to infiltrate lots of different areas and lots of different stakeholders as well. So sorry, I went off on a complete tangent there, Claire, but I really like your point about shelving things. Thank you. Now I'm pretty sure that it's not KLS 702. I really hope it is, because if not, that you've got the greatest. Oh,
No,
yeah.
I'm not a robot, don't worry.
KLS.
Yeah, I don't know why it's my work login thing, but I don't know why it's picked that up instead of my name. It may be some of the way I've linked in with Zoom, but it's Karen.
Hi, Karen.
Is my real name. Thanks, Beth. I was just joined. I was on this morning with Simone and said it's through the company that I work for. They've promoted this calendar of events today, and this one about social action was something I was interested in. just really come on in all this to get some more information about like what kind of programs you run and what people are involved in, to get a bit more information about it, because I'm actually out of area. I live in Lancashire, so again, it's just something that I'm interested in. I've offered to volunteer for an organisation here called Lancashire Women, so and I'm waiting to hear back from them. So it's just kind of more of a fact-finding session, information, find out what you know what community action is about as well, and what other people's experiences are.
And we need you to be a champion, Karen, of going back to your organisation, because Karen is from APS, who've got like a lot of local employees and loads of community projects. So part of our ask of you might be actually share all the great stuff that's going on locally. So if you do have local employees and they do want to use their volunteer days, I know APS are pretty on it, aren't they, in terms of their CSR or ESG or whatever we're calling it these days. They're giving back bits. So yeah, absolutely, if you can be an ambassador for us of all the great stuff that's happening in Stockport, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, we'll do.
Whereabouts in Lancashire? Oh, sorry.
Well, Burnley. I'm in Burnley.
Proper Lancashire. I say that as a Preston girl. Like, so Burnley's proper Lancashire. And I would, you know, a lot of people from my hometown would not be very happy with me about that. That's like deepest, darkest Lancashire. So yeah. I once got stuck at Burnley train station for 2.5 hours after a football match at Turf Moor. It was potentially the worst 2.5 hours of my whole entire. It was raining and there wasn't a bench to sit on, and that's my long-lasting impression of Burnley. So you know, lovely, friendly people. Like terrible train station.
Yeah, that'd be great.
But yeah, thanks, Karen. And last but not least, Donald. Hi, Donald.
Well, I don't know about least. Probably am. I do lots of different things, but I'm not very good at any of them. But that's by the by, innit, I suppose. I work for a company called One and All in Stockport. We became employee owned about 7 years ago, so we're for the good of everyone. One of the things that we hate are like fat cats. So that bonds us all together. We always start with the lower paid first, and if there's nothing left for the higher paid, then that's hard luck. We're a B Corp. So a B Corp is, well, it's the highest verified standard of environmental and social performance in the world. There's about 6,000 B Corps in the world. We're the only one in Stockport. And it's a really tough verification, but it really means that you care about people and planet. And that's what we try to do. One of the things I really hate is inequality. Yeah. And it's such a shame that there's so much inequality in the world. And it's something that Stockport struggles a lot with. So I'd like to do something about that. I'm trying to do stuff on to improve social value in Stockport, because I think that I'm old-fashioned because I'm old, obviously, but I call it the third sector, and the third sector in Stockport is fantastic. And there are some good businesses in Stockport, but there are very few that like come together. And so I'm on a mission to try to get more business involved in social action, really. One of the things that I do, I'm the chair of the SME strand for Andy Burnham's living wage campaign for Greater Manchester to be living wage accredited. So I represent like the 100,000 SMEs in Greater Manchester. So that's entertaining, I suppose. 20% of the workers in Stockport and Greater Manchester are paid below the living wage. It's absolutely criminal, I think. I suppose we're quite good on environmental stuff. Maybe we can help doing some carbon literacy work. My daughter works with me, and we've done quite a bit on carbon literacy. So maybe that might help some people, because we Beth runs some courses, and obviously we don't charge. We just want more people to be environmentally conscious, and for any of us, if we can save like energy bills, that's great for the planet, but quite good for the ever suffering pocket. So I'm sorry I've blagged on for too long, but that's me.
That's really interesting. Thanks, Donald. It's really good to know what people's roles are as well, because one of the things I was going to say at the end of this session, obviously, if it's okay with everyone, if Simone can, because straight away I can sort of see a couple of great connections that would be just from what people have said that they're working on and would like to work on. So potentially, if Simone will be able to share everyone's contact details with each other afterwards, if people have got things to do that. So I think it's really important that everyone sort of knows their each other's backgrounds. So what I'm going to do is really quickly, before we just sort of go off into more of a general discussion, I'm just going to share a couple of examples of some of the social action projects we've run in school. So like I said, we have a community organisers group as well. So we've got a group of about 10 to 12 young people in Stockport who run, they've done community organising training, and they now run various different community events. They're currently running a Saturday Culture Club, which is every month they design an activity for young people who wouldn't normally be able to necessarily go out and attend those. So in a couple of weeks, we're taking 20 young people to Stockport County, which will be, so that kind of thing. So we're all about, I've gone completely off tangent now, working with young people, but predominantly we do look at social action within the school context. So I just want to share a little bit about how we do that, and that might be relevant to either those of you who are looking to implement it into your business, or those of you who are looking to run social action projects yourself. So, Simone, can I screen share? Yes, I can. So we always sort of start with the UN Sustainable Development Goals. If you're not aware of the UN Sustainable Development Goals, they are sort of the blueprint that the UN came up with in 2015, which is 17 goals that are all interconnected, with the idea that we'll be able to, if everyone sort of addresses these, everyone makes a small change, it can have a huge impact. But it's the idea that all 192 countries who are behind these all need to make a difference. So we initially introduce these to young people, and we get them to, so those are the 17 goals if you've not seen them before, and we get them to start to prioritise them. And what's really interesting, we use these in our Wave of Change programme as well, and ask people to prioritise actually which of these are the most important to you. So the work that I do, our priorities are gender equality is a massive one to me, quality education, and good health and well-being, and decent work and economic growth. Those are sort of, and reducing inequalities. Probably the main two for us are reducing inequalities and quality education. A lot of the other stuff links in with us as well. So obviously that's just for me personally, and that is obviously clear from what my organisation does and what my background is. We look at ensuring young people from more disadvantaged backgrounds and disaffected backgrounds, or young people who are vulnerable or disengaged in whatever way, have got that opportunity to engage in a wider way. So, but it's really interesting to ask either young people or people you're engaging with to think about what the priorities are here. And the Wave of Change programme, we find it really interesting to then use that as a springboard in terms of, well, actually, if you're interested in climate action or clean water and sanitation, then is there a career opportunity there? Is there a volunteering opportunity which could lead you into work? So we always start with the UN Sustainable Development Goals. If you go onto the UN's website, they have some fantastic resources for free on their website, including a board game, which is our first Wave of Change programme. We had 20 women playing this board game in a room, which was amazing. So where you can learn about things like that, loads of free resources on there. So we think about that, and then we have a think about actually which of these goals are important to you. And then we have a think about actually what's the sustainable development goal, have a think about what we can do to help, then actually what's already happening. So that's one example of sort of what we do. But the UN Sustainable Development Goals, I find, are a really great way to start talking about social action, because there's that theory, there's that idea behind them, but it's also obviously making sure that you're introducing those goals to a wider number of people, because the whole idea behind them is the more people that know about the UN Sustainable Development Goals, the more people are doing that little bit to make that big difference, the better. But it's also a really good way to start thinking about actually your focus may be different than someone else's, and that's absolutely fine. Everyone's got a different focus and everyone's got a different purpose. but actually all of those pulling together is what makes the difference, and that's the beauty behind those SDGs. There's loads, like I said, there's loads of resource online for that, and it's really, really good starting point as well for discussions around social action. I also challenge anyone to find a social action project which is not linked to one of those goals. It's everything is linked to them, and you can work either one way. You can either think about what you want to do and link it to the SDGs, or you can think about which of the SDGs is important to you, and then sort of go the other way. I mean, that might link in with your company ethos, your company mission statement. It might link in with young people you're working with, like whether or not actually what are your priorities, what are the priorities for young people in Stockport, and what are priorities for young people within Eton Norris, what that kind of thing of actually what are our priorities, and why are those our priorities. And I always think about actually why is that important to you, because I think that's really, really important if we're trying to make social action and we're trying to make social change, to consider what it is we're trying to achieve and what it is that we're trying to do. So that's just in terms of that's just our starting point for social action. And then just want to share with you as well a couple of examples of things we put together. So these are just a couple of case studies around things we have done with young people. So Connell Sixth Form College, last summer we did an Action Ready programme, which was a 6-week programme in the summer. Students had 6 weeks. They budgeted and used digital skills to create and present a social action project of their choice, mainly using social media. We wanted to ensure students were linking their experiences to their next steps, whether that be university or work, to provide them with a unique experience that will help them to stand out in their pursuit to that next step, as well as giving them tools to help them on their way. So they're obviously, whilst we were looking at running a social action project, the sort of reason for the project underpinning that was to prepare these young people for UCAS applications, and to give them UCAS applications or work or next step applications, and give them those wider skills of project management, community links, etc., for them to do that. So one of the key things I did there was a group of year 10 to 12 girls, focused on period poverty, carried out research, loads of research, and presented that. And essentially what they did within 6 weeks is they got free sanitary products in every bathroom within the school for young people to be able to access. It also gave them numerous schemes, giving them that sense of a voice, and that's a real thing that we found. It allows people, particularly young people, who often think, well, what can I do? I can't make a difference. Those small things, I think sometimes with social action you can start small. So those girls who thought, well, actually, we know girls who were not coming to college because they can't afford sanitary pads or are worried that they're, for whatever reason, when they're on the period. And those are really small things that they changed within college within 6 weeks. So it's now empowered them to think that actually I can make a difference and I can make change. Another example as well is one we completed last year at St Anne's High School, obviously just in Stockport. So we had a group of 15 year 10 girls who chose to tackle the topic of equality in their school community. So they produced poster campaigns, mini magazine around positive female role models, launched the Quality Awards for teachers, and hosted a Sharing Our Culture morning that allowed other students to learn about henna art and try South Asian sweets and food. So why we did it, the campaign was actually launched just after the murder of Sarah Everard last year in 2021, as well as wanting to tackle issues around gender equality. Students also felt there was other areas of discrimination they wanted to tackle, like LGBTQ+, recognising and celebrating a wider number of cultures and religions in the school. They want to give all students an equal voice. So students really made sure that the school started to think about equality, and it was really interesting, the conversations that came around from their campaign. And it timed really perfectly. A new head teacher had just come in who wanted to have a chat with them about the stuff they were doing, and they made that very clear from the outset, which I think is now showing in the school ethos about equality, which is shining through much more now. And the biggest thing that they did that made an impact was the teacher awards, which sounds like a really basic thing, but they designed badges and they made certificates, and they chose as a group which teachers they were going to give different equality awards. So it's like celebrating diversity awards, there was male feminist awards, there was I can't remember what the other ones were, but the girls chose who they were going to give those to, celebrating different elements of diversity and equality. Teachers who they thought were promoting and celebrating equality within their classroom and across school. And anyone who's ever worked in school knows that teachers love a badge even more than the kids do. So, but what those badges do, they were like the little prefect badges, but they had whatever their award was for on it. And what that meant was, which all came from the girls, was like, well, actually, if we give them that badge, they wear that starts a conversation, that gets people talking about equality, which is going to have a wider impact of our social action. campaign. So sorry, just sharing a couple of examples there of really quite basic, quite small things that they did. Oh, we've got another pet there. Now I've gone off my sharing. I can see Donald's dog. Hi, Donald's dog. Sorry, I get very easily distracted by furry things. But yeah, so that's just sort of like a bit of an example. So I think really now I'd be quite keen to open this into a bit of a more of a conversation about what social action projects do people want to be leading, and actually what I don't know, Simone, because I feel like
Well, I mean, already I heard lots of crossover there about the
yeah,
environmental stuff. So I don't know if people want to use this as a platform to connect and consider how they might. Because the only thing I've got to add to that is also, and I said this in the very first event this morning, you don't have to go out and be starting up organizations and starting up your own projects. You know, there are other things that if you know that they're out there, you can tap into and you can support. It doesn't need to take up every hour of your day and every penny that's in your purse. It can just be something small and adding into another group's social action project. So I know, like, in terms of, we've used the social action in the wave of change, and that was a bit like, well, why would you do social action with women who are out of work? You know, they want to look for work. But I think what we recognize is a lot of women kind of have got a bit lost, or don't know what they want to do anymore, or don't know what they're passionate about. So introducing social action is a way again for them to connect back up with, well, what does give me purpose and what does give me passion. And actually, that might not be in work, it might be something at the side of work, and I might work for the cash and I need the work for one side of it, but these little things that I do alongside my working environment might be the top up of purpose and passion that I need, that's not fulfilling me in my traditional role. So it kind of can be a whole connection of why you do it and how involved you get with it. So don't feel like you've got to go out and, you know, reinvent the wheel.
yeah. I mean, I think as well, it's just the idea of linking in with stuff that's already, as Simone said, linking in with things that are already there, but also that idea that we have, we've all got our own purpose, and it doesn't have to be a whole project. It might just be that thinking about social action makes you think, oh, do you know what, actually, I need to make sure I'm recycling more at home, or makes you start thinking about, like, I'm not going to get into, like, I'm not going to bring it up as a full discussion about, like, the recent active neighbourhoods thing, which was going on sort of in Heaton Chapel and Heaton Moor, but I actually found that made me just start to consider a lot more about the fact that all local journeys I could walk, and I still am doing that now. So it's just that little thing that I've sort of thought, well, actually, I can make that little difference and little change to my own life as well. And certainly for the women that we find, it's also offers them volunteering opportunities. Certainly within this kind of forum too, it's that idea of sharing what we're doing. So actually finding out about, well, you know, so just again, Nadia wants to do some work around environmental things with her young people. So actually, what's already going in, that rather than her starting a brand new project that she could link in with, so it might be worth speaking to Donald, for example, about some of the stuff that he's doing, wider climate action. But yeah. So I think really what might be, Simone, are you happy for me to go into two different breakout rooms, or would you rather me just keep everyone in one room here? I realise that will involve you.
Yeah, but I won't be able to record that, so
Oh
I'm just
yeah,
thinking
that's
people
fine.
want to watch it back.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So I think really what would be quite good is, I think if we pick the topic of climate action and climate change for social action, I think it would just be, because that's one that seems to have cropped up quite a lot within the conversations. I think initially it might be good to, Simona, I'm really sorry, but are you potentially all right to just jot down some notes if people
Yeah,
are talking?
absolutely.
Is that all right, please? So I think really it might be good to first of all to start off with about what we already know is going on in Stockport. So what's already going on in Stockport, then what actually are our priorities for what we could do independently or collectively, and then potentially have a little bit of a chat about what everyone could hypothetically or really sort of do that could link into that, if that makes sense. So I'm going to be really strict. I'm going to go into proper teacher mode for this, and we're going to have 5 minutes. Thanks, Claire. Thanks for joining us. See you later. So the first 5 minutes, I'm not going to set an actual timer on the screen, but I'm going to set a timer on my phone. What's already going on in Stockport around climate change? Go. Unmute yourself if you want to add things into the chat, that's fine. I think Nadia's trying to unmute herself.
I'd say the cycling lanes and the walking lanes that the council have been doing.
Yeah, so actually there's quite a lot of stuff being done by the council in terms of implementing cycle lanes and, you know, for that in terms of like a healthy lifestyle and healthy sort of neighbourhoods. Yep, so I think that was linking in as well with what Louise just said about sustainable living. Is that what you were sort of referring to, Louise, that idea of, or are you talking more around plastic waste and things like that for sustainable living? I know it can mean lots of different things.
No, I didn't just mute myself then. No, that's a group that's already existing in the Heatons. They get together and do things. I don't know enough about it to comment about it, but I know that's a group that people might want to link in with.
Brilliant, thanks, Louise. Phoebe.
Yeah, there's Stockport Community Cycling Club, which encourages people at all different levels. So check them out. I just want to share some things. Somebody was talking about employee volunteering. I am part of the Friends of Marlow Meadow. It's our local green space. You think, what are your community assets that are green? And we did advertise for employee volunteers, but apparently they have to do a full day. I didn't know that hadn't been made clear, and I said, well, no way would we offer a full day. We're in a park, we don't have facilities. You know, I just thought that was unreasonable. I said, you know, we're doing a series because to link with Nadia and other people doing young people, we've got pupils for students from Marlene School doing their Duke of Edinburgh. You know, they want these sort of voluntary opportunities. So I would hope people here could think about offering that. And they do a variety of things. And I think other, well, Aquinas College does Duke of Edinburgh, and they volunteer at things. And I just say about the period poverty, because I go to Aquinas for an evening class. There's a big notice in the toilets, but you have to go and ask someone. And I think, oh, getting hold of a person in school, come on.
And this was the thing the girls at Connell were like, they were able to do that. They were like, but also as well, sorry, Donald, but like in terms of, you know, as and when, if you suddenly need something, you don't necessarily want to go and wander out and have to find someone. And if it sort of needs to be there on hand, and certainly people, you know, these young girls sort of I know by 16, 17, you're a bit older, but they might not feel confident enough to go and ask for something. So that's why they used to have that at Connell, but they wanted it actually physically in the space. But yeah, no, it's a real issue, I know, in a lot of schools. But it's that fine line between popping it in the toilet so people can just access it, but also making sure that it's sustainable as well. Thanks, Phoebe.
So we do that. And just something else about the climate change. I've had the MP around my house. You know, I think we've got to do far more about retrofit.
It's always really interesting when you're talking to young people around when we start with the SDGs. Climate action and climate change is far more on teenagers' agendas now than it was when I was a teenager, or probably than when any of us were younger. But they do really care about the climate, and actually, by the time they're in their midlife, sort of late, you know, mid to late life, it's going to be a real issue if something is not changed about it, and they recognise that. But it's also really interesting is when you look at the SDGs, is young people more so than when we work with women or when I work with adults on this, they recognise that every single one of the other SDGs links back to climate action. So no poverty. Well, actually, if we talk climate action, then there won't be issues of droughts and lack of food. So that all links back to climate action. Or if we're thinking about no poverty, that actually climate action it wipes out whole spaces, it wipes out whole sort of villages or towns or whatever. And actually, it allows for it can get rid of jobs, but actually as well, it can make jobs because actually looking at renewable energy is actually a whole new way of creating new roles and new sort of jobs and new careers for people. So it's really interesting how young people link everything back to climate action in such a different way that I don't think a lot of adults do. Karen, you're going to say something? I also
Yeah,
realise that
no,
we're talking about Stockport here.
I know. I was going to say,
Please bring in anything that you've got from Burnley, because potentially that might be great for us too.
yeah, no, I was just thinking of what you're saying about the period poverty. I do know about a local organisation. It's a local business owner. She champions, and it's probably very similar to what you did with the girls in the school. She runs a gymnastics centre, and she's called the Period Coach. So she, gets donations from local businesses and organisations and distributes those products to probably girls who come to her centre and also in local schools. So it's something that it's come up more on my radar recently. But I think going back to Phoebe's point, I'll pick up with that my organisation about the volunteer days, because I know it was launched before pandemic, 2 years ago, that we could have these volunteer days, one day per year, that we could take. But like you say, I think it was a full day, but I think obviously with what happened, none of them have been used to my knowledge, and I've not seen it promoted again this year. So that's something I could pick up within my organisation and see if that is back on the agenda as again, that we can have our volunteer days and where we can link in with, like you say, whether it's local organisations within Stockport or for those of us who are based further away, where we can utilise those. So that's something I can pick up on.
Yeah, that sounds brilliant. Thank you. And I think it's that idea of knowing. It's also, I'll be the first person to say as well, having an organisation, when someone says, "Oh, come and do some volunteering with you," it's sometimes really difficult to go, "Yeah, I'd love a volunteer, but what is the volunteer going to do?" And it's making sure that sometimes volunteers are helpful.
Yeah.
Not that volunteering isn't, but actually it's making sure that
Yeah, get something out of it for both parties, really.
Yeah, definitely. Donald.
Well, first of all, I think it's brilliant that you're using the SDGs to communicate with young people about. I think that's a superb way of getting them to interact, really. It's brilliant. I suppose I wanted to say that the council are doing some really good work. There's a newly appointed climate action manager called Nick Leslie. I was the external that recruited him, and which makes me look really good because he's superb, and people think that that's something to do with me, but obviously it wasn't. He came from the BBC and did some great work there as well. So Stockport's really lucky to have him. He works with somebody called Liz Atherton. They've got such ambition for Stockport, but not just in what the council does. And obviously, they're responsible for, I can't remember what the figure is, it might be like 10-20% of the emissions in Stockport. So obviously there's a much wider audience. There's a group that meets, I think, 3 or 4 times a year on climate action. If anyone wants to get hold of Nick or Liz, I'm sure they would be really happy to engage with a much wider audience. They've definitely got some resources available, but Nick is really good, really well respected in the Northwest as well. So I think we should just be mindful that they're really good, that they've got this massive agenda, and they're tackling it, and they need loads of help, but they're prepared to give lots of help as well. So
I think it's often that thing. It's getting here and here and joining them together in the middle, because everyone wants the same outcome. And it's just that idea of getting the different people from the different organisations and different stakeholders to link in and sort of all work together for the same goal. And I think that's a lot of the time is something that we sort of try and do with schools and stuff as well, is make sure they're linking in with the right people. So if you could help with that, Donald, as well, certainly in terms of
Yeah,
any.
definitely, and I'm sure they would. And on carbon literacy, that's really important, I think. And there's an organisation which is not for profit called Carbon Literacy Project. They're based in Great Manchester, but well, I call him the leader, might be the co-founder. He actually lives in Stockport. They've just finished training like their 25,000th person, which is quite impressive, really. So, and I know that the council are working with them as well, because it's important that everyone knows more about carbon literacy, because everyone can do simple things to make quite a big difference, really. And I suppose
I've never heard of them before, Donald. So that's really helpful. Thank you. That looks. I've just had a quick look on the website. It looks great. Thank you. I'll share it actually with everyone because it looks great.
called Phil Corbell, my contact, and we've got a meeting soon. Him, the climate action people from the council, and I think we're meeting at Music Magpie. We're trying to get something together on carbon literacy for Stockport as well. So I think that would be really good. But
I think, and that's when you start to make the bigger difference, isn't it? And that's why we start to have that real impact with social action, is when you have different groups who are working towards the same goal,
yeah,
pulling together and working together. And I think that it's making sure that we're all on the same page of going for the same goal, and that's great. Thanks, Donald.
and I think they could. I think they're the people who might glue it all together.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Donald. Nadia, I think you were trying to say something before. I might have imagined it, but I didn't. I thought that you were trying to.
No, I was just trying to save my cat.
Right.
Screaming in the background. Sorry.
No worries. I didn't know if you were trying to say something. I understand you. I'm literally.
I can say, Beth, that's really interesting what Donald was saying about the contact there, Phil Corbell. It's somebody who actually I go back with as well in my work life. So it would be amazing to connect with them.
Yeah. Thanks, Nadia. Lovely. We love connections. I realised that my 5-minute thing completely went out the window because people were talking. So this is very similar to every time I'm ever in a classroom. I have a plan and it goes completely out the window. I always get a good out. Well, we get there in the end though. But just in terms of then really, I think that it's that idea of what we always try and do then with social action is it's really difficult, obviously, when you've got a group of 15 very overexcited teenagers who are like, okay, let's talk about climate action. Well, let's get rid of all single-use plastic in the canteen. That's great, and I'd love us to be able to do that, but there's a very clear tendering process and cost, and there's an outside provider. It's not even that you just go to the head teacher for that, but so it's talking about actually really small, not small, it's talking about realistic things that we can do within an individual social action project as individuals, as a group. So I think that potentially so straight away I'll sort of say that like around this so climate action, I think that I'm going to make sure that we will talk about we're launching a couple of new programs at Harrytown in the next few weeks, and I'm going to make sure that we are looking at a known issue as being plastic waste with young people. So I'm going to try and look at doing a little bit of a plastic waste, some kind of, when we do our first mini social action thing, is looking at something around plastic waste. That might be collecting plastic bottles and I'll take them all to recycling rather than them all going into the normal bins at school. So we could do that once in a day, and then it actually might make all kids consider about the plastic bottles that they're chucking in the bin every day. So a really small thing, it's realistic, I can do it. It might have an immediate impact in those 100 bottles are going to get recycled rather than going in the bin. But then the longer term impact is hopefully those young people will think about, I'm not going to just chuck a bottle in the bin. I'm going to have a bottle that I'm going to refill. I'm going to look at make sure I recycle them. So just have a little think. You might want to type them in. So actually, what's a realistic thing that you could do with your groups or independently that could help look at this issue of climate change and climate action? It's great. Thanks for joining us, Pam. See you soon, hopefully. Again, you might not want to share it, but it might just be something that you want to be. I also am very much aware that some people have already got those very realistic things that they're already doing. But again, this is just going through the process that we would normally do. We would normally say, actually, what can we do? But let's take the big idea that yes. Oh, hi, Nadia's cat. I'm just getting distracted by the cats again. So I've just got mine here. Hello. She's literally just sat next to me. So yeah, it's just that idea of small, manageable, and we talk about smart targets as well. Yeah, yeah. Do you know what, Louise? Yesterday, I have got some co-working space which is in the centre of Manchester because we've sort of got some to work as well, which we've always had sort of initially we had funded from Federation from years ago, and we've just sort of always stayed there. But I now am consciously making sure that I don't drive into Manchester. One, because the traffic's got ridiculous again, and the parking has all gone up again. Also, as well, I'm like, well, I live 5 minute walk from Heaton Chapel Station. Why am I doing that? And also, if I do that, I get my 10,000 steps a day without even trying. So yes, Lucy now wants everyone's attention. So yeah, really small, manageable thing. We do use smart targets as well, which is sort of I always forget one of them. It's all about being realistic, measurable, time. You've got a time limit on those, and that's a really good thing to think about when you're doing social action as well. Is if you're setting smart targets, they're realistic. Anything else anyone wants to add? Because I'm really aware that we're coming up to 4 o'clock, and I'm sure that Simone's got another session starting at 4 o'clock. So thank you all for joining. If anyone's got any final comments or any other questions, I will just put my email address in the chat.
I was just going to say, where can they check you out, Beth, if they wanted to find out more info?
So you can find me, here's my email address, and PIE's website is pieuk.org. Oops, that should say, I'll do that again. Or we are at PIE UK Social on all your social media channels. So on Instagram, I'm not very good on Instagram, I'm not going to lie. Not on Twitter and Facebook as at PIE UK Social. We have got numerous different things going on in Stockport. We're also running some health provision. We're always happy to get involved with anyone who wants to find out what we're doing. I'm happy to have a chat with anyone who wants to do some social action stuff as well, particularly with young people. But yeah, thank you.
Amazing. Thanks so much. And thanks everyone for joining us. I know it was a whistle-stop tour of social action. The one thing I would say as an end to social action is just find something, if you're not working with other people in projects, but you want to do something yourself that you're passionate about. I mean, I'll collect my bottle tops and I'll do my bit, but the environment stuff I know is so important, but it isn't the thing that for me kind of lights me up. There is like, I'm interested in, you know, equality and giving women voices, and just find the thing that you want to spend your time on. We can do the other bits as well, but there'll be other people who are really passionate about those bits. So don't feel like you've got to sit in one of the goals. I suppose it can cross over.
Yeah, and I think that's it. And I think to me, social action is what's important. It's about that priority. It's starting with the SDGs and then going from that into like actually what's your personal priority. And actually the beauty of the SDGs is the fact that everyone's picked their one or two or whatever, and actually they do all interlink. So inevitably, if you're doing one about one of them, it will link and support a lot of the other ones as well anyway. And yeah, it's just about everyone doing their bit for whichever bit they're doing, which can help.